while you're getting back to your seats, I was reminded of one more story having to do with financial things. So this man dies, and when they go to settle his probate, they discover in his will that he said that he wanted to leave $100,000 to his stockbroker and $100,000, Harvey, are you ready? To his attorney. But there was a caveat. They each had to agree that they would take $50,000 of the $100,000 and put it in his casket. So they're like, okay, you know. So anyway, he dies. They're going to the funeral, pay their respects. They walk by, and then they both end up sitting at the bar, having something to eat, having a cocktail. And the stockbroker says, I got to be honest with you. The attorney said, what? He said, I only put $25,000 in the casket because I figured he's not going to know. And the attorney says, are you serious? You are greedy. I left a check for $50,000 in the casket. All right. Again, it's all going to be uphill. All right. I want to just open with just a couple of comments here. As you all know, we, or most of you know, we started ISI over 30 years ago. And many of you have been clients for 30 years. Amazing. I mean, we are blessed, very, very fortunate. And over the years, my goal and my team's goal has always been to be very passionate and obsessed with client service. And as I always like to say, my staff always makes me look good, because without them, I wouldn't be here. Well, as we have grown and evolved, we started looking to hire more good people, and because, number one, it's hard to find good people out there right now, and number two, our standards are so high, we've really struggled finding talent that we wanted to bring on the team. So what has happened is during this time, Dimensional, who you know we obviously are fortunate enough to be able to work with, introduced us to Greenspring Advisors, and this was well over a year ago. I don't remember the exact month, but I think it was like about a year and a half ago. And as we got to know each other, because Greenspring works with Dimensional, they're a fee-only firm just like us, same philosophy of investing, same passion for service. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. We started a discussion of, you're growing, we're growing, same philosophy, great teams. You're in Towson, Maryland, we're in Lancaster. Maybe we should explore possibly coming together. So long story short, and after many, many hours and hours and hours of discussions, and our team spending time with their team, getting to know them down in Towson, them coming up here, having some corporate events together, there was obviously a really, really good fit. And ultimately, we decided that, you know, I have a succession plan. And when the good Lord takes me home, it was important to me to make sure that all of you are taken care of, but also that my staff has a setting and a platform where they're going to still be able to work with you as well. So we actually signed and put together a succession plan originally that we've had with Greenspring, which said something happened to me, they would step in, work with our staff, and essentially take over the firm. So as we were thinking about it further, and as I got the input from my team, it's like, well, do we really need to wait till Tim dies? And why not execute that teamwork together now and leverage the strengths that we have, the strengths that they have, and literally have 1 + 1 ultimately equal 3. They can help make us better, we can help make them, but ultimately the driving force was, what's this going to mean for you? Because I and my staff, I can assure you, are extremely protective of all of you. You guys are family. And thinking about opening up you all to new relationships was not something that we took very, very lightly. So with that having been said, we ultimately agreed that we would come together. We're going to keep our office in Lancaster. All of our team that you all know is awesome. They're not going anywhere. Some people have asked me, yeah, Tim, I know what your plan is. You're walking out, what, maybe 18 months? Well, again, if the good Lord takes me home, that can happen. But I want to say I absolutely have no plans of any time in the near future, and there's no date or anything as to when I'm going to say no mas. And in fact, thanks to Greenspring and thanks to us being able to work together as a team, I am more excited than ever, and we have resources now that honestly are going to allow us to thrive even more. And it's going to allow me to work even longer than what I thought. So with that having been said, we are honored to have Greenspring here. Can the Greenspring team that's in the back, can you stand up just for a second, please? So we've had several of them that made the trip from Towson, and I just want to say thank you guys, and we are looking forward to working with you guys and having all of us as a team. But thanks for coming. Pat of Greenspring is going to share some things with you about Greenspring. Pat was a founder of Greenspring in 2004, right? Mm-hmm. And just a little bit about his background. Some of you may have heard of this college called Penn State. Have you ever heard of that? Yeah. Well, I think that's what hooked Pat into wanting to work with us, because Lori graduated from Penn State. Laura graduated from Penn State. And once they started talking Penn State, then I could see, hey, this is over with, you know. But graduated from Penn State. He also is a enrolled agent with the IRS, which is the highest certification you can get from the IRS. And he's obviously also a financial advisor and a certified financial planner. So with that introduction, I'm going to have Pat share some things with you, and then he's going to toss it back to me just for a little bit, and this isn't going to be long, as I'm going to highlight some of the specific things that this is going to mean for you, because this isn't about us. This is all about you. So, Pat?
Sure. Thanks, Tim. Tim's been able to tell a few stories this evening, so I thought maybe I'd start with a story as well about Tim to share with you guys.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Hopefully you'll still want to be partners after I tell this. So Tim has this knack for texting me things that clearly were meant for his wife.
Oh, no.
So a few weeks ago, when he ended his text smooches, I really started to think, what kind of partnership are we getting into here? And then a few weeks later, he started with saying, hey, I think he started, hey, babe. And so I really started to think about this. So anyways, I joke. The one thing, I've been able to spend time with Tim and his wife, Dina. And the one thing about it that has really been heartwarming to me is how clear it is and how much Tim adores his wife. And it's so in character with the rest of what I've observed with Tim over the last year and a half. He loves his staff so much too. And really since the very beginning, since we first started talking, and I can say this unequivocally, it's never been about Tim. It's never been about him. It's always been, when we've talked about the possibility of our firms coming together, it was always about wanting to do what's best for his staff and wanting to do what's best for his team. So it's something that really resonated with me and something that really for me, reinforced wanting to be partners with Tim and the whole team, which is just an amazing team there. So anyways, hopefully,
Other than your story, I appreciate your sentiments. Jeez.
So
But you got me good on that. I gotta admit.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about Greenspring, but just briefly about me. Like Tim mentioned, I'm actually from Pennsylvania. I grew up in Westchester, so I'm sure a lot of you guys know that. I remember taking trips here to Hershey Park and to Dutch Wonderland as a kid, so know the area well. My wife's from State College. We met at Penn State. We're both Penn State grads. Like Tim said, we like to talk about it a lot. So very familiar with the area and an area that I love. So like Tim said, in 2004, I started Greenspring. I started my career at Merrill Lynch. I knew two things right away when I started at Merrill Lynch. One was I really loved this business. I loved helping people. I loved the financial advisory part of it. The other thing I recognized right away was I was never going to retire at Merrill Lynch. There were certain things that went on there that I really just had a different vision of. And like Tim said, one of the things that brought us together was that vision that's very similar around how we want to serve clients in this fee-only, really be objective and transparent with how we work with our clients. So I'll talk a little bit about Greenspring. Like we said, founded in 2004. It started with just me. I was one person in an office, and then we've been just fortunate enough and blessed enough to be able to just kind of grow one client at a time, one employee at a time, and that's something that we've been able to kind of continue to expand upon. We have two different groups at our firm. We have one that's a very traditional kind of wealth management, which is probably what a lot of the people in this room are used to, and that's the majority of our business. I know the assets say different, but as far as the number of staff and the resources we have, about 2/3 of that is dedicated to our private client group. So that's financial planning, managing investments for families. We'll talk a little bit more about some of those services. And then the other group is this institutional consulting group. So we work with about 150 organizations on things like their corporate retirement plans. So those are kind of the two parts of what we do. We actually have two locations. Our main office is in Maryland, in Towson, Maryland, but we're also outside New York City in Paramus. So this will be our third location when we come together with ISI. We have 28 employees, and when you kind of break it down a little bit further, it might be hard to see there. 16 of our employees are financial advisors working directly with clients. We have 10 CFPs, and there's a lot of other designations that our people hold. So you can maybe go through this if you can see them, but it's things like certified financial planners, obviously, enrolled agents from a tax standpoint. We have chartered financial analysts, which is an investment designation. There's all sorts of different things. I will touch base on really briefly kind of some of the, and this maybe goes into it, our core values, some of the things that we really how we try to operate. So we have 5, and I'll just briefly touch on them. One is our number one, and probably our most important, is love your neighbor. And that's all about, what we talk about all the time is being others focused, doing things that for others and putting them ahead of yourself. 2 is to have a bias towards action. So we want people at our firms to really kind of take the bull by the horns, and if they don't know something or if they want to go find something out, that they don't wait for someone to go tell them, they go do it. And so that's a big part of what we do. Third is to own your stuff, take responsibility. That's a big part of kind of our core values. Fourth, kind of goes along the idea of our employees and some of the designations is master your craft. We want people that really are curious, that want to get better, and that really want to think and be on the leading edge of all the different things happening in our industry. And then the fifth one, that probably goes back to the first presentation that was given by Dimensional, it's the idea of trust the evidence. We want to make sure that all the advice that we give to our clients is backed up with evidence, and we're never going to shoot from the hip and say, hey, we really think Tesla's a great buy today, and we're going to buy some of it, or we're going to do this or that. Tim and I and our firms have a very, very similar investment philosophy, and that's part of the reason we came together. A couple other things that might be of interest to people in the room. We have, as we've grown, a lot of our advisors have developed specializations. So I put some up there, but we have groups of clients, and we kind of track this in these different areas. So we have a lot of clients that own businesses, we have a lot of corporate executives, we have a lot of retirees. So what that means, for example, for retirees, is a lot of our advisors are really becoming experts or are experts in things like how to apply, how to handle Medicare and all the ins and outs of that, Social Security, how to set up estates and tax planning around, making sure that all the tax distributions are coming out appropriately and minimizing taxes. So I just bring that up as I think our teams are really going to be able to collaborate well because we have a lot of overlap with some of these areas and types of clients that we work with. I won't talk a lot, but we have some industry recognition, so you can see things like, the ones we're proud of are best places to work. We really want to try to bring the best people in. Honestly, that was probably the driver for me when I started to talk to Tim and I met his team, is we recognized how great his team is and how great they are at serving clients, and just how good they are at what they do. So finding talent's hard, like Tim said, and so that was a huge driver for us, is finding such a great team. And then finally, I'll just talk a little about something that we do that we're proud of, and that's Greenspring Giving. So one of the things when I first started the firm that we decided was that we were going to give a percentage of our profits away to the communities in which we lived every single year. And in the beginning, 10% of your profits, if your profits are zero, isn't a whole lot of money, or it was very little in the beginning. But we committed to that and we stuck with it. And we've now given over $1 million to charity. And one of the things that we've done is we've set up a grant program. So I bring that up. If any of you are in the room are involved in nonprofits, or you find nonprofits that are doing some great work in the Lancaster, Harrisburg area, we'd love to hear about it, because this year we're going to give $100,000 away in grants, and that's stuff that we try to do in the communities in which we live, and obviously this is going to be a community that we really want to be giving back to. So I think there's a lot of that up here right now we talked about. So I'll stop there and turn it back over to Tim here. Can I give that?
Thanks, Pat.
Yep.
So, ISI and Greenspring together, all that matters is, to me, what's this going to mean for you guys? Because without that, I wouldn't be moving forward with this. So, I already mentioned your ISI team, who provides you with world-class service, and I know that because you all tell me that all the time, remains. What I like is we're going to be able to bring to you much more in the way of resources, so when certain scenarios and needs come up that you call us about, we most likely, if it has anything to do with finances, somebody on our team is going to be able to help you, help us answer, and whatever that is. And the expertise is phenomenal. As you saw, CFPs, 2 enrolled agents with the IRS. It's really, really nice. We're now going to have a combined team of about 34. Right now we have 6 full-time And we have Angela, who helps out once in a while on some projects. Obviously, we're going to be able to offer some pretty neat tax planning services. At the current time, Greenspring does not provide any tax preparation. We've kind of kicked that around, and who knows what the future holds, but right now, focus is just on tax planning and working closely with your tax advisors. Obviously, personal service is a must. The passion that we have in our office and that they have in theirs, this is what drives everything. Okay, 3 different office locales. So if you have family in the Maryland area that would want to work with somebody in Towson, there's going to be an office there. As Pat said, there's a office, smaller office in Jersey as well, and then obviously here in Lancaster. Combined assets between our firms are going to be roughly $7 billion. What does that mean? Well, that means we're going to have even more financial strength and security and more opportunities to explore in other areas. And that's it. So Pat and I wanted to give you all an opportunity in an effort of full transparency to give you guys a chance to ask me anything, to ask Pat anything. Anything is fair game. So if you would just raise your hand, and Christine and Lori will, we got somebody, okay.
I was curious, what will the new company be called, and when will these changes actually go into effect?
Okay, initially, ISI is going to remain using the name ISI as a division of Greenspring, but the goal ultimately, whether it be next year or whenever, is to have us unified underneath the Greenspring name. Yes. And she's coming.
The IRS is obviously a nightmare to get through to, and to get any answers from, too. So with having these folks with the IRS expertise, is that something that we can call the offices if we have questions?
I wish I could say that we have a direct line right into the IRS, but that's not the case. Pat, is there anything you want to offer on that?
Sure. Yeah. So where we spend most of our time from a tax perspective is really tax planning. And so what that means is, well, I'll take a step back. When I first started the firm, one of the things I did is I went to a bunch of our clients and surveyed them and said, is there any areas that you feel like you're not getting great advice in when it comes to your finances? And almost across the board, taxes were one of them. And people would say usually something like this: I love my accountant, he's great, but I kind of just get all my tax stuff at the end of the year or the beginning of the year, and I bring them over to my accountant, and then they tell me if I owe anything or if I'm going to get a refund. I don't really feel like there's a lot of proactive planning going on to try to minimize that tax liability. And so that's where we kind of step in. My dad was a CPA, so there's nothing against CPAs, but they tend to be rear view looking type, kind of personality types. They want to look to tell you here's what happened and here's how we're going to report on it. What we're doing is we are going to our clients ahead of time, and we're saying, let's gather your information, let's run an actual tax projection, let's say in November, and see what April's going to look like when tax time comes around. And are you going to owe money or are you going to get money back? And are there things we can do today to minimize that tax liability or get a bigger refund? And so that's something I can tell you with our clients is across the board, that's one of the services that people really enjoy, which is, or appreciate, is really trying to get a good handle on taxes and planning for taxes. And accountants oftentimes look at that not as competitive, but as helpful to them. So anyways, that's, what we use our expertise, let's just call it with the IRS around, is not necessarily going to the IRS and telling them, hey, you need to talk to our client. It's more around actual planning for the upcoming year or the current year and trying to minimize liability. I hope that makes sense.
Anyone else? One more up here.
Yes. Will Greensprings have representatives up at your office to help with the tax planning if we come in and just want to go to the Lancaster office?
Yeah, what's going to happen is, since our offices obviously are only about 50 minutes away, there's going to be a lot of interaction. So with tax planning, most of that can simply be done by us requesting from you electronically or from your tax advisor. If you'll get us your tax returns, schedules, whatever, subject to the discussion that we've had, we will then work with their tax planning people. And what they're going to do often is look to identify what are perhaps some opportunities here that we are overlooking. But then ultimately, you will work with your financial advisor, whether it's I or Laura, or if you're up in the Maryland area, an advisor there. But we are going to work collaboratively with the actual tax advisor. So it's going to be more like a team. Anything else? And then we'll take one more after this.
How many people do you have on staff within this tax planning group? Because with the addition of ISI's size of clients, you're going to be overwhelmed. How are you going to address this? And what is the procedure that we need to go through to get this set up?
Yeah. I will offer just one thought, and then I'll let Pat jump in. But I can envision it starting with getting us tax returns. And we have some good tools that can analyze those, and which is technology, believe it or not. And it can flag any opportunities or points of discussion. And then as needed, we then will collaborate with them. And a lot of their other financial advisors, even though they're not licensed enrolled agents of the IRS, they do a lot of tax planning as well as we do already. So, Pat, you want to?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's obviously for the last year and a half, Tim and I have been talking about this, not just around the tax piece, but in general, how do our firms come together? So like he said, 1 + 1 = 3. We've in advance are adding some more people at Greenspring to anticipate more work from Tim's office, from the Lancaster office. So there's going to be 4 people that are just kind of dedicated to planning and tax. They don't have clients to work with. They're just supporting the advisors in the different offices to help them with, when these requests come in. So like Tim said, the procedure is typically the advisor is going to request some information from you. Could be a prior year tax return, could be a pay stub if you're working, could be, any outside investments that you might have, things like that. And then we're going to take that data, put together projections, bring it back to the advisor, and then they're going to share it with you, basically. So from your perspective, you'll probably you have most of the interaction with your current advisor, but know that they're going to have some resources behind the scene that's helping to support them.
And because we're not going to be doing tax returns for everyone in here, it's very manageable. Mm-hmm. If we were doing tax returns for everyone in here, you could imagine if we would have to have staff just focused on that. So that's a good question, though.
Yep.
Yes, Lori.
What do you envision coming out of the fact that we're going to probably have almost 90,000 new IRS agents? Any thoughts on that?
I wouldn't cheat on your taxes next year, I guess, would be the first thing. Well, clearly, they're trying to enforce, current laws on the books. So if you are in a high-risk situation, meaning if you're very high income, if you're doing things that are gray, those are areas that, quite honestly, those are the things we're looking for when we're talking to clients, when we're evaluating tax returns. It's not just, what happened last year. It's, are you at risk of an audit? And we have seen people start to push the boundaries, and we'll caution that's an area that they really have to be careful of. But clearly, I think the new legislation signals that there's going to be more enforcement. So people need to be more aware and not probably blur the lines of things that are gray.
Okay. As always, you can ask us, you can call me. We want to be an open book, and we've tried very hard to be, and we will continue to be. With that being said, I just want to share one very quick thing with you as we wrap up the evening. I want to say, first of all of you are special to me. You're special to our firm, and I can assure you, as the other members on Greenspring get to know you and interact, they're going to see just how special you guys are. And in the spirit of that, and me saying thank you for the privilege and honor of being able to serve you for many, many years, I got a note from a client after we sent out the invitation relating to this evening, and I just wanted to share it with you. Hi, Tim. I have read the great news about ISI combining services with Greenspring Advisors, LLC. Reading your memo takes me back about 30 years ago when Chuck and I first met you in Lancaster, just having gotten started at ISI. I still have a copy of the papers Nancy gave us to complete, even for birthday and anniversary dates. Nancy, who I think is here this evening, she was my first staff team member, and that's why she mentioned that. Then she ends it with this: the years have been a good experience, and now as a widow, I appreciate you and your team very, very much. Ruth. That's why I do what I do, and that's why we care so much about you, and that's why I want to say thank to all of you. So, thank you for the evening. Warm. Huh? I don't think he mic'd us down. A test one. Yep.